Right, big deep breath. Okay, we go again. Craig and I are matching outfits.
Yeah.
We didn't actually plan it. We haven't spoken since the last episode
No,
because
we
you've
did-
been so busy.
We did this the other day though. We had shorts and t-shirt on.
We did actually, didn't we?
Yeah.
Must be a vibe.
That's what I went for. I saw that one and I was like, I'll go shorts and t-shirt.
So today, I'm really excited about today, and Mason and I have probably known each other or known of each other for 10 years, probably. Called each other every name under the sun.
And more,
yeah, and more. And in more recent years, probably off the pitch, we've kind of found some common ground over a shared issue that we have, but that we've turned into something that has kind of shaped our life for the better. And Craig and I are really grateful today to have you here. Not least of all because you're a very recently new father,
Yeah.
and your first week off work in a very long time,
Yeah.
and he's chosen to come and share it with us two, matching bananas in
Yeah.
pajamas, and to share his story. And I think I speak for both of us when I say, like, in fact, I'm gonna move over to Craig just before we start. I've seen gambling in non-league as a huge issue, but it kind of that comes with other lifestyle issues as well. Obviously, you've been in the game,
Mm.
and I'm sure you've seen and heard how much of an issue this has been
Yeah.
in football.
That really touched on me because I think betting's very, very big. Sponsorship in sport is is huge. So it's always kind of pushed under the carpet. So
Yeah,
I
well,
think it's
When you're playing in the 888 casino stadium, sponsored by Betfred,
Yeah.
with adverts, and your
Well,
every
even the
move
league.
is, yeah,
And
is
Sky Bet League One
Yeah,
and
yeah.
League Two is not
It's-
getting away from it.
it's crazy. So today's conversation, I think, is going to be one of the most important we've ever had.
Mm.
So Mason Spence, former professional football player, non-league legend, perhaps a little bit Marmite.
Depends who you ask. Yeah, it depends who you ask.
But I can tell you, away from football, I know the man has a great heart. He's doing some great things for other men in similar situations. So let's get straight into it because it will flow as we go. I googled Mace for the first time. That's my search history. Mason Spence naked. No, mate.
That's what I shout every week.
Yeah.
When I'm having a shitter, I just say, Google me.
So early years, and we can go back earlier in this, pro MK Dons, Colchester, even an international cap, and football was, I'm sure, a great part of your early life and shaped you as a younger man. And so we can start there, or we can start a bit younger, and let's
I
hear.
think it probably goes back like younger than that. Like, it goes back, like, obviously, as we mentioned, gambling is like my addiction. But football was my first addiction, as a kid, like just growing up. And having a chat with Craig about kids earlier about that. Now they have to have iPads, they have to have this. I didn't need any of that. I didn't have toys, I didn't have play. I had a ball and outside space. And, I hated being indoors. I hated it. I was never at home, I had a couple of friends. I always lived at their house because, and even still now, I hate being alone. My biggest fear is being alone. Spending time with this person is not advised. I don't go into my own head now unless I'm escorted by an adult, because the person that I end up being alone with can be a bit of a knobhead and say some pretty strange things. So and that's always been from, like, literally from as early as I can remember. I was wanted to be with people. I wanted a ball at my feet. I wanted to be doing things that needed to be stimulated all the time, and I didn't ever find that from being indoors. So yeah, football was always the go-to, and turns out I ended up being all right at it, like, and obviously in the great grand scheme of things, like, Craig was obviously a lot better than me and has come across a lot better people, especially on this podcast, that are obviously been better than me. But in terms of a greater scale, I was all right at it. And yeah, and that was always my go-to. That was my safe space. And any sort of issues, like, if my mum ever had to tell me off, it'd be like, right, you're not going to play football. That'd be it. And that was the way you really got to me. If they take that away from me, and I'm like, we've got a problem here. Like, I better butt my ideas up. So yeah, that was it. Definitely all stems from starting back then with football, and it also, my gambling all stems from being in a place where I loved competition. I was so competitive, like everything I do, and even now, like there's a very fine line between, like for me now, between gambling, like pushing over to the gambling side and still being competitive. Everything always has to have a winning or losing aspect
Mm.
of it. Otherwise, I'm like, I don't see the point in doing it.
Mm.
I have to really check in with myself and say, like, right, if I'm gonna do this, is it because I just want to win, or is it because that's my gambling creeping back in, and there's got to be some sort of stake on it. Um, so yeah, like, and just growing up as a kid, like that winning or losing element was just always there, and I think my gambling really sort of stemmed from I grew up with my brother and my mum on a council estate and like single parent. I'd see my dad every sort of few weekends in a row if he could be bothered to turn up or whatever else. Like a bit of one of those sort of relationships. And if he ever did take us, he took us to the pub. So I grew up in weekends around the pub, and when you're a kid, like, and you're playing pool, and they're like, "All right, if you beat me at pool, I'll buy you a Coke or something like this, or I'll get you a pack of crisps or things like that." They used to play games where they put cards on the pool table, and you'd get a pound off someone, they'd get a card, and it'd represent a horse, and you'd watch the horse racing, and if I'd win like 15 quid or something. And straight away, I'm like, I've got 15 quid. Like, you know what I mean? I'm 7. You know what I mean? I've got 15 quid and I'm 7 years old. Like, how many games of pool or how many bars of chocolate can that buy me? You know what I mean? And instantly, like, so I always do think that there's an element of that subconsciously when I gamble that sort of wants to take me to that sort of time. Like, so I don't have a relationship with my dad anymore. I've not spoken to him for best part of 10 years now. And it's all a little bit frosty. And obviously when I spoke to therapists and stuff, some of it does lead back that way, and like just subconsciously, like I don't even think about it, but like when we used to go to his house, like we used to have like remember them big like Coca-Cola tubs with like penny jars.
I remember.
Yeah, so he used to empty that because he didn't know what to do with us. Like, you know what I mean? He wasn't a dad that was sort of like interested in taking us to the park or anything like that. He was a right, we either go to the pub or we'll go home when the pub's done. So we used to empty that. We used to get a few coins and we'd pick a horse on the telly or whatever else, and you'd end up with a load of coins or you'd end up with no coins, and that was that. And I sort of maybe that's where, well, so the therapist sort of in the conversations that I've had with them, that's where sort of my gambling sort of stems from. But yeah, eventually led on to a lot a lot sort of worse and whatever else. But yeah, it's definitely where it sort of started. A lot younger, I've been gambling sort of on and off since I was 16. So, straight away walking into a bookies at 16, and like I said to you earlier, like I used to walk into Ladbrokes at 16, and it's like, oh, all right, Sue, like behind the thing, and like never ID'd me once or anything, like I already felt like I was one up. I already felt like I was winning, I'm in there, you know what I mean? Like people a couple of years older than me getting ID, like as they're coming in, and I'm walking out with a bet slip as long as my arm, like, you know what I mean? And that was already like the start of it. Like that was the buzz already. Like, and again, like the money at the start was like interesting, but then yeah, as any gambler will tell you, it stops being about the money pretty quickly when you get into the thick of it. And yeah, the money, I thought it became a financial issue before that I realized it was a gambling addiction. I knew I bet too much, but I thought I'm just pretty shit at betting. You know what I mean? I'm just pretty shit at betting. It's if I can sort my finances out, I'll give it another crack. I'll be all right. I know what I'm doing this time. But yeah, it turns out it's nothing to do with money at all. It's everything to do with me.
Okay.
So yeah.
So that's you. I mean, hearing that back now doesn't sound like you needed a therapist to tell you that. That's quite intense from an early age, isn't it? But I remember those situations in pubs as a kid as well. Like, but maybe not quite as young as you, but the pounds on the pool table and the little games you'd play to win. There's a buzz to it as well, and being subjected to that at such a young age, subconsciously you're gonna, especially when it's through your own dad as well. Your dad's always gonna be your idol, especially growing
Mm.
up. Like that's oh, that thing is cool. That thing is enjoyable, or that's what everyone else does. So it kind of makes it the normality of it comes. So you talk about getting to 16 and already being in Ladbrokes. At that point, you're MK Dons.
Yeah.
So you're. Are you getting apprentice money? What are you?
Yeah, so yeah, I was on apprentice money, which is well at that time I think it was about £75 a week in like a first year or whatever, and your bus pass paid for you. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't a lot at that time. So yeah, again, like so if you did get a winner, it was like it was good. But at that time, like, I was still, even though I was on that, I was still giving like my mum some money, like because I was still living at home. Like things were a little bit tough at that time, and yeah, like so didn't have a pot to piss in. So winning a bet was like, wow, like
Mm.
you know what I mean? I'm on top of the world. But yeah, I remember we used to sit behind the first team, like, and we'd be behind the dugouts, like the first row, and there ended up being a few of us that like would go to Ladbroke straight after our games in the morning, like because we'd play under 18s at like half 10, 11 ish, go and watch the first team, and but before that we'd all go and get like something to eat and go into Ladbrokes, get a bet slip, like you know what I mean? And we're all sat behind there. If there's any footage like from games, like
Mm.
from if they like panned above the thing, like we're all like this. Oh, how Gillingham getting on? How are these getting on? Like you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, it's mental because you've got like the whole world in front of you. Like I should be watching that game, going, I need to be doing what he's doing. Like, and I'd watch a bit of it, of course, but I'd be like, I need to be doing what he's doing. I want to try and be there. You know what I mean? And instead, I'm like, I'm here. You know what I mean? I'm just here. I'm on my phone. I'm looking at scores. You know what I mean? I'm waiting for the halftime announcements. If I couldn't
Mm.
find any scores or
Yeah.
whatever else, you know, that's I already knew that there was something wrong. Like because like I say, everything I'd ever wanted to be was right there in front of me. Like everything like that I'd spent years of like hard work or you know, I didn't know anything else other than football. Like I said, I grew up on a council estate and no one had ever sort of really been a pro at football before. Like so they all thought the sun shined out my ass, you know what I mean? They was like, oh, he's brilliant, like he's the best football player we've ever seen, like he's gonna make it and all of that. And you know what I mean? That gives you an ego straight away. But instead of like yeah, so I just thought that that was what I was gonna be. You know what I mean? Everyone told me I was gonna be a footballer. I was gonna be a footballer. You know what
Mm.
I mean? And then I just stopped like gradually and gradually as the years just sort of went on, I just slipped further away from watching that and further away into like Gillette and Bet, fucking Jeff and the boys on a Saturday. You know,
Yeah.
that was more interesting than actually playing at the time. So yeah, it's strange where it takes you. Like it's insane how far away from dreams and reality it takes you.
Did anyone notice like this going on? Did anyone like get like pull you aside and say like we this, or did they just allow it to?
Yeah, not really. I mean, like, you know what it's like in. So once a few of the boys got like involved, like in the changing room, with like at youth team, like we was all sort of talking about it together, but it all sort of stays pretty close knit in a
Mm.
changing room. Like no one was sort of remember, like one of the boys won a big bet. He won like 5-7 grand or something, like somewhere between there, and everyone was like, "Fucking hell, like wow!" Like, and we was all just trying to do that. Then, like, we'd
Yeah.
all put on like £10. Like, and none of us ever won because we was all chasing like the big one.
Mm.
Like, um, but like, so no one really like no one gets a hold of you at that point, like, unless there's something visible. And like the thing is with gambling is so easy to hide. You know what I mean? It's a silent, like a silent killer. Like
Mm.
if I walked in and I was pissed every day, someone's gonna smell it.
Mm.
Someone's gonna notice me. Like or same way if I'm like drugs, etc. Like that. There's a physical effect of someone noticing it. Whereas I walk in, I could have done all my wages like the night before or even that morning, and I've walked in and no one knows a thing. Like no one
Mm.
knows anything. I just walk in and act like it's any normal day. And I'll go out there and I'll be shit in training. I'm saying things to people that I wouldn't normally talk to like that because like I'm just irate in
Yeah.
myself. But that's the only way I've got of it coming out. Like so no, in answer to your question, no, nobody knew.
Mm.
Like I imagine there probably may have been someone to help at the time, but I think also football is very fickle. Unless you're one of the like, top boys, people don't really care. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's easy to get lost in the youth team system. Like, but like so we had Delhi and like youth teams. If there was something wrong with Delhi, you know what I mean? Someone would be like, something's not right with you today. Like everything all right? Like, and they'd be there. Whereas morning, mate. You're right. Yeah, I'm all right. They'd probably think, oh, he's a miserable twat or whatever else.
Mm.
Like, you know what I mean? Or like, yeah, you just sort of get a bit lost in that system. Like,
Not really regulated either, because I remember joining Peterborough and they had Ladbrokes in the ground. And
Actually,
literally, you could literally walk in there and all the odds were there, like how much it was if I scored, like so you could literally go in, bet on yourself, and then walk back in and go and play the game. So it was never really regulated. So it was never really especially at that time anyway. It was
mm,
there's a lot more you could probably get away with doing it.
yeah,
it's gonna be a really interesting conversation today because I've shared about my own addiction troubles and they're different to Mason's, although they're kind of the the wiring somewhere's the same, the stimulus is a little bit different, but Craig's never addiction's not something
No.
you've suffered with. Perhaps scoring goals was an addiction of yours.
Yeah.
Like you like that a lot, but yeah, having this thing that grips you and takes you away from everything you've worked towards, like that feeling that you expressed there of my whole life has been about football, and it's right in front of my eyes. It's right there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm more interested in this little slip. And I was the same. Mine would have been a drink or a line. Like I could have been in some of the best situations in the world and just been so irritable and we talked about presence like last week. I was so not there. There was no presence. I was somewhere else. I was
Yeah.
always somewhere else, and gambling can always take you somewhere else, whether it's a game happening on a Saturday or some mad donkey racing in a different country. It's
Yeah.
24 hours a day. It's available to you the whole time, and we're so vulnerable at a young age, especially. I think footballers are some of the most vulnerable at that age because they're told they're going to make all this money. They're told they're going to be brilliant. They're told that you're brilliant. Like if you're 16 and you're on the fringe of the first team of a
Mm.
professional football club, you're the boy.
Yeah.
Like in your town or wherever else, or in that
Yeah.
little circle, you're the man. So kind of you get away with a lot.
Mm.
You would get away with a lot. So I'm not surprised no one said, you know, is everything all right? They would have just assumed it was. We've got a mutual friend. I won't say who it is. I'll tell you off air. Who talked to me very similarly about he was at MK and he did. I think he might have got his pro. It never worked out, or he didn't quite. But he stopped going to training, and they just thought he was a bad egg. The reality was he was doing his whole wages at the moment he got it, and
Yeah.
didn't have enough money to get to football.
Yeah.
He didn't have money to put petrol in his car. He
Yeah.
couldn't get there, so he was making excuse after excuse after excuse, and they were like, "Oh, he just don't care." Yeah,
Yeah.
and the reality was he just had no money in his account
Mm.
to get there, and it's this when it's going well. I think this is probably gambling ethos. You might tell me if wrong, but it's going well. You hear a lot about it.
Yeah.
When it's not going well, you
Oh,
don't.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's celebrated, isn't it? It's a
Yeah.
celebration. Lads are like more so in non-league, drinking, shagging, sniffing. Those things
Yeah.
were celebrated, and
Yeah.
I felt like the man doing those things at a weekend. Gambling, no matter what level you're at, is celebrated a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, you do hear a lot more about the winners than you do the losers because you sort of because then you want to let everyone know that you're like it's all right
Yeah.
because the whole thing like with my gambling, I'm completely honest. I talk about anything like there's nothing that embarrasses me or anything like that. But I was like fear was riddled with fear of people not knowing that I wasn't all right. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like because I'd always been the loudest person in the room. You know that big ego, but low self esteem. You know, like because I was petrified of anyone thinking that I wasn't okay. You know what I mean? That there
Mhm.
was something wrong and that, everything like out here was just a lie. You know what I mean? It was
Mhm.
just like a complete bravado. So, um, yeah, it, like you say, like, you'd always know, like, because you'd go that extra mile. Like, so if I want to bet, like, England would be playing, I remember being away on a holiday with a load of lads and England were playing, and I had a big bet on it. I had one. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll get all the drinks in."
Mhm.
Like, end up doing like I said, the money was. I was in debt up to my eyeballs at that point. You know what I mean? But I was like, "Yeah, no, I've had a big one." You know what I mean? Everyone had this. Like, I'm the fun guy. You know what I mean? I'm the one. You know what I mean? I big love. I'll share it all. You know, it
Mm.
means nothing to me. And then like tomorrow hits, and you're like, "What did I do?" Like, I needed that money. Like, I needed to pay like some debts off. I needed to do that or whatever else. And it's all just ends up all being a bit for show and all a bit fake. And like you say about that, the person who couldn't get to train, I had a similar thing when I went to Colchester. Like I missed home so much, you know what I mean? I was completely out of my comfort zone when I ended up at Colchester. And I started off, I lived with a couple of like lads near the town centre and ended up getting into a fight with one of my flatmates, which was a very bad decision because he was built like a brick shit house, you know what I mean? Big, strong Nigerian lad. And we was meant to be playing West Ham in a pre-season friendly on that night. And we got home, we had a fight and was rolling around on the kitchen. And obviously, there's three of us in that flat. One of you trying to stop two others from fighting is never going to go well. But yeah, and ended up like finishing, and he'd come back round and give me another whack, and my eye completely closed up, and I had to like I was meant to be playing in this game tonight, and I had to phone the manager up, and I was like, yeah, me and Andy were just messing about, and I've hit my head, and they knew straight
Mm.
away, like you know what I mean, as they always do, and um, but they ended up putting like because there was a few things that just went wrong. I kept on getting myself into trouble. Like I did a tweet whilst I was there saying, "Oh, like," and not knowing that anyone was paying any attention to sort of my tweets. Like, no one had ever paid attention to me before. Why would they start now? So I got there and I just saw some really weird things throughout the day, and I was like, I just think I tweeted like, "Oh, God must have put every weirdo in Colchester." Like, just like today, like I went back home and like I looked at my phone a couple of hours later, and it was like, "Go back to MK, play on the roundabouts. Who do you think you are?" And the manager phoned me. It was like, "My family are from Colchester." And like, "Are they fucking weirdos?" And I was like, "Whoa!" Like, this has been completely taken out of context. And that was like 2 weeks after being there. So I was like, already people like made the local newspaper, like they pinned it up in the change room. I was like, wow. So already people think I'm a dickhead. Like, if I didn't feel out of my comfort zone already, like people already think I'm a dickhead. But they ended up moving me into a house on my own by the training ground, which is just in like a village, like a place called Tiptree, and there's nothing there. You know what I mean? The training ground's there, and you know the hours that you do, like get in at 9 or 10 or whatever else, and you're home by 1. And time's my worst enemy, and I mean I'm no good having time. Like, and especially going back to this house, where a big 5-bed house, and I'm on my own. There's no one else in it. Like, I had nothing to do. I missed home. I had no people around me, and that was where it all just sort of like really kicked in. Like, and I had no money to do anything because I had done it all there. And I remember going at home. I wasn't in the squad, the first team squad. So I went home, to see my wife. Well, my wife now. She obviously wasn't my wife then, but and um, and I remember being sat in the pub, and I got a phone call from Mark Kinsella, the assistant manager. He said, "Oh, Mace, where are you?" I said, "Oh, I'm just on my at home at the minute." He was like, "All right, you're in the squad now, so you need to get here pretty sharpish." I was like Colchester's like an hour and a half, 2 hours away. It's like I ain't getting there in time. And I was like, "Oh, I wasn't in the squad, was I?" I was just going to get there for free, like come and watch. Like, I had no intention of watching because most of the time they didn't know if you were there or not.
Mm.
Like, weren't interested. But I ended up getting there at 3:10. Like, I'd just gone in the changing rooms, got changed. They were like, "Where the fuck have you been?" And like, it just felt like I was just facing a constant battle of like sort of making myself look like a dickhead. Like, you know what I mean? And again, like my only escape was to go home and have a bet. Like, it just
Mm.
took me away from like reality. Like, and that was the trouble. I used to bet on every emotion. You know what I mean? If I was angry, fuck it, I'll go and have a bet. If I was happy, you know what I mean? I'm definitely having a bet
Yeah.
today. You know what I mean? I'm happy. If I had a row with someone, I wanted to get away, I'll go and sit in the casino, isolate myself. And it just, addiction, especially, like, just wants to isolate me all the time. And that's what I have to be careful of now. Hence why I'm so scared of being alone. Like, I hate loneliness because it wants to isolate me. It wants me there on my own where it can start convincing me
Mm.
that these are the right things to do and taking me away from the things that I know. And whereas before when I used to gamble, it used to say, "Oh, just fucking go and do massive bets, like go and do that." Whereas now it will go, "Oh, like, oh, that homeless bloke over there could do with 20 quid. Why don't you go and put a bet on and like give him the winnings or whatever else?" So like, it's so, I sound like a psychopath when I
No,
do
you
this.
don't.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
No, you don't at all.
to a normal person, like they're thinking, "Oh, he's got voices in his head." Like, you know what I mean? But whereas when you speak to other adults, like other addicts, I have to put this addict as a person, like as a separate person from me, and I have to treat him differently because if I don't, you know what I mean, and I start letting him integrate into my normal life, then I start going back out there and I start doing the things that, you know, that I start thinking are normal. You know what I mean? Every opportunity, like, he's there, he's doing press ups waiting for me. You know what I mean? He wants me to get back in the ring with it so he can beat me up again. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? Like, and I've stepped out of the ring, and like I said, I've been stepped out of the ring now for like 4 years or whatever. Like I was
Well
on
done. It's
Monday,
brilliant.
but
Well done.
which is like, yeah, which is amazing. But I know that I'm only a click of the fingers from being back in there. Don't matter how far away from,
Mm.
like how far away from that last bet I've got. I know I'm so close to being back in there if I stop doing all the right things and I start listening to him again. Yeah.
It's I do what you do. You will notice this as well. Like I try and caveat kind of that emo, and you shouldn't have to justify it and say, "Oh, I sound like a psycho," or "I sound like I've got voices in my head." Like I've got that same guy doing press ups. I've got
Mm.
that same voice. And we share a lot of similarities, and I think you can probably see a lot of me and
Yeah,
Mason.
yeah, 100%.
It's that I constantly need love or validation or company, or because on my own, I can really what is both a gift can be a curse. I love that saying in terms of what makes me really passionate, really loving, really kind, really intense, really driven, really like into the things that I love, can also undo everything.
Mm.
And you talked about that acting upon emotion, and we talked off air as well a moment ago, talking about like whether you're angry, whether it's the lying to yourself and the stories you create, the voice in my head, the creation of stories or narratives or situations that I would manipulate to ensure that I could do that one thing.
Yeah.
And hearing you say that, like, I won a game, great, got a
Yeah.
bet on. Missus is falling out of me. I'll get a bet on. Mine was obviously a different thing. It was a you found excuses or lies to
Yeah.
create, and that even that thing about to I used to on nights out. It's so funny you saying about the homeless man. I used to on nights out feel guilty about what I knew I was in the I knew that I was in trouble, but I was acting the big man. I was giving it bravado. I'll out drink you. I'll do this. I'll stay up for 2 nights. Not what like
Yeah.
I'll do these things. And I would go and buy a homeless man and his dog a load of food. I'm talking like enough food
Yeah.
for the week and give him some cash to make myself feel better about what I was doing. I was like,
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
can't be a bad person because I'm pissed and I'm fucked, but I just fed a homeless man. So I'm all right. Like someone's looking after me somewhere, and it's not just I said it's not the big lies where you're lying to your missus about what's happening, or to your children, or to your friends, or it's more to yourself, isn't it? It's those constant, exhausting
Yeah.
conversations that happen that are manipulating situations to do what you want to do. And
And it's not just manipulating situations, it's manipulating people. Like,
oh yeah,
as an addict, I've just become so manipulative in general. Like, I stopped looking. This was the worst part that I found of being an addict, and when I was really struggling with it, is I stopped looking at people as like friends and family, and I started looking at them in how can I manipulate them to aid my betting?
mm,
How can I touch like their emotions so that they'll find a way where they can either give me money or they can lie for me or whatever else. Like, how can I use them to help me? Like, and that was like when I come out of it, because gambling, I always used to think like, why is it anyone else's business? You know what I mean? I'm gambling, it's my money, I'm doing this, it's no one else's business, I'm not hurting anybody else. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't until I went into the clinic, and I realized like and started breaking it down to me, and I started learning about the disease, and I started learning about all my character defects and the things that I was doing, and like the snowball effect that it had on everyone else around me. And I was like, wow, shit, penny dropped. And I was like, oh my God, the amount of people that I've hurt or like indirectly hurt, like just from lying or asking them to do this and
mm,
going going against what they believe in and stuff like that, or asking them to lie to my wife about, oh, look, don't tell her I was in the casino, or
mhm,
don't tell her this, put themselves in awkward situations. And that was the beauty of recovery, like like finding emotion again. I didn't have any emotions. I was the most self-centered person in the world. Like I didn't care about anybody else's stories or what was going on in their lives. I cared about me, how I was gonna fund my betting, how I was gonna, like if I could find people in the program that give me tips, you know what I mean? Like any starting news, you know what I mean? Like I was insane. Like I was absolutely insane. My whole life just revolved around that. And I became this sort of chameleon where I could adapt and talk to anyone and find a way of like manipulating them just to aid my betting. And now I'm not obviously in recovery. The best thing that I've got of recovery is like having empathy and like being able to help others again. And a lot of people, like you say, like I am, most people think I'm a knobhead in non-league, but I also am a person that cares deeply about a lot what people are going through, and that's all behind closed doors. People don't see that. People see me winding people up on Twitter or taking piss out of people or saying things on a football pitch that, or whatever else. But in reality, I'm also that person in people's DMs and saying, "Are you all right? Something didn't seem quite right there," or they've reached out to me, which is why I've always been quite vocal about that, because I know there's so many, especially with gambling. Obviously, like I say, you can't see it. There's so many that are still
yeah,
doing it and that are struggling, are in a similar position to me, but just don't know who to turn to, where to turn, and it's so hard to get out of it, because once you start getting into that cycle of, okay, I'll win a bet to pay that off, and then, or if you're in debt or whatever else, or like I say, you're just doing it based off emotion. It's so hard to get out of unless you've got the right people. If I just walked into one of the rooms of GA, I'd be dead by now. I'd be dead mental institution or prison. One of the three. Like, there's no, because I just wouldn't have got it. Like, I had to go in and learn like about it at the clinic, which is why sporting chance, like for me, is like the holy grail. Because I'll always like be indebted to them, because if I didn't learn about it, I wouldn't have stuck at it. You know what I mean? I used to go into meetings, and when we first got there, and we sit in meetings, and obviously meetings are an hour and a half or whatever else long, and some fella's talking to me about like, like whatever else, what he's done throughout like the week. And I'm thinking, why? How the fuck is this going to help me? How is this going to stop me from going down the road, putting a bet on, like, listening to him? And because I was all right at telling my bit, you know what I mean? Everyone listen to my story, feel sorry for
Yeah,
me,
I
you know what
did
I mean?
this.
This is what I've been through. Like, it's not what you lot have been through. So you lot listen to me, and like that bit was great for 10 minutes. And then the rest of it, I'm sat there like that, like, fuck, I need to get out of here. Like, I can't do this. And I had to learn that patience of sitting in the meetings, and not just sitting in the meetings, like actually listening to what people were saying. Because all of a sudden, it was like people were emptying my head. Like, they were like talking about the things that were going on in my life. And there's a big saying in like in the rooms, like, start looking for the similarities rather than the differences. Like, because I'd walk in and I go, "What's the fucking state of his shoes? I ain't listening to him." Like, you know what I mean? Or I ain't talking to him. Like, but he looked like he hadn't had a wash for a week. You know what I mean? Oh, how's he going to help me? Like, and then all of a sudden I start listening to their stories, and I'm like, we're no different in there. Like, we might be different out here, but we're no different in there. And I sat next to a bloke, and I said to him, "Oh, like, you've been in recovery long?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, I've been sober now for 40 years." I said, "What the fuck are you still doing here?" I said, like, "Why are you still here?" I said, "You obviously ain't got a drinking problem anymore." And he went, "It never goes away." He said, like, "I'm an addict. Like, there's no cure for being an addict. Like, there's a solution, and this is the solution. I come to meetings and I speak to other addicts." And he also just said to me, like, "And if I stop coming, who teaches you? Like, how do the newcomers get it? Like, what path do they know which to take if I'm not here to guide you?" And I thought, and that was when the penny sort of really dropped, that it's not just, "Oh, I go into rehab, you know what I mean? I come out, I'm fixed, you know what I mean? That's it." That was a point where I knew that it was a lifelong program for me, and that I don't do things in a normal way to what normal people do. Like, I have to work at this every day. Otherwise, like I say, he's doing push ups and he's coming back to beat me up. So, yeah. And when that penny finally dropped, it was like, yeah, like clarity, like it all just sort of hit me at once, and I was like, "Shit, this is me for the long haul now." Like, I know what life can give me if I keep doing this, or I know where I'm going. So, yeah, and like I say, once I open my mind and start listening to new people, other than the people that I'd always just listened to, that just friends are brilliant. Friends and family. I'm very fortunate. I didn't lose any sort of relationships when I like had this. I see a lot of people come in the room and they've lost everything.
Yeah.
No one wants to talk to them. They've got no money, etc. I was very lucky. I like everyone around me still loved me. They knew I was a bit of a dick and I had like a few issues, but they still like cared for me. They just didn't know how to help me. You know what I mean? Whereas, so the people in the rooms now, they know how to help me. You know what I mean? Like, I always say to my missus, like, now, like, obviously I've got a new boy, and he's everything to me. He's the world, but he alone can't stop me from gambling. If I want to go out and gamble, I'm still gonna do that. I'll feel guilty, but I'm still gonna do that. I need the people in recovery, because they understand that sort of side of. They understand how insane it gets.
Mm.
Like, if I emptied my head to just my friends about what was going on, they would literally think you're a fucking fruitcake. And but I empty my head to other addicts, and they go, "Oh yeah, I was speaking to a bloke about that last week." You know what I mean? Or, "I did that like 10 years ago," or whatever else. And it's like, breathe. Like, I'm not a complete nutter.
The weight off
I'm
your
not. I'm
shoulders.
not insane. You know what I mean? Like, it is okay to. I do get crazy thoughts, but it's how I act on them. If
Yeah.
I don't act on them, it's okay. You know what I mean? I'm all right. So, yes, like I say, the rooms and the people in the rooms and the fellowship are just like brilliant to me, and I never gave them the time of day at first. So,
I'm getting this now, and I'm going to ask your opinion on this, Craig.
Mm.
You saw me animated there, whether you're listening or whether you're watching. I don't know. I was lit up again, and like I fell in the rooms.
Mm.
So I understood that everything you just said completely, and I did the exact same thing. I judged people when I first got in there, and some of those people have given me more than I could ever have hoped for. Like, it's if everyone in the world went into those rooms, we'd all be better people. Like, it's
absolutely, yeah.
when you find people at their rock bottom who are just willing to surrender and be vulnerable and be loving and be kind and learn to listen. I remember my first meeting. I didn't know there was like a 3-minute time cap on sharing, and someone was telling me to stop, and I was like,
I mean, you're talking.
"No!"
You're talking as
Yeah.
well.
I was like, "I don't want to stop." And then but again, I was like, "I don't want to listen to you. I wanted to say my thing." But you you learn the most amount of kind of compassion and empathy, and to not judge any single person. So when you were talking, it made complete sense. Like that's a language that I speak.
Mm.
I'm interested to hear how you feel hearing that, because this conversation is really important for other addicts to hear
Mm.
this, or to people who are suffering and haven't spoken out yet. But for equally as important for people that don't suffer with addiction to understand what's going on underneath the surface, because it's a silent killer
Mm.
in so many ways. So when you're hearing that, how does it like? I want to hear your opinion, really.
I wanted to know, like, a little bit like your emotions and thoughts when you were betting, because like, I've never been in that situation. I've bet and it's like I've lost some money. I'm annoyed, but like for you, obviously, winning, losing. What are your emotions you're going through? What are your like? What's your thought patterns like? How's that? How's that look?
It just, like I say, it affects everything.
Mm.
It affects the way that I'm talking to people. It affects what I'm gonna do next. Like it literally, it's just, and it's a constant. Like I say, there's only so much you can drink until you pass out or you black out or whatever else, and someone notices, right, we've got to put him to bed.
Mm.
Whereas betting is just endless. Like obviously you can eventually run out of money, but then you're constantly scheming of trying to,
Mm.
like I'm on loan sites, I'm trying to find new ways to get
Mm.
money. I'm like say I'm tapping into people. Oh, like, oh, this has happened, you know, like my yeah, something's happened really bad. I've got, can I borrow some money? Like, you know what I mean? And it's just a constant cycle of like no rest.
Yeah.
Like you win, you're elated, you know what I mean? And you're like, oh, yeah, everything's brilliant again. You know what I mean? Everything's like a fix. I don't know, I've worked it out, you know. I found the solution. Like, I'll just keep doing this every single time until, you know, I've paid off all my debts or whatever else, or I'll become a millionaire. You know what I mean? That's how it's gonna work. And then when you lose, it's like the saying in football is like, obviously, don't get too high with the highs, don't get too low with the lows. And in gambling, it's fucking like you're like that. You know what I mean? It's, when you get a high, you're on top of the world. When you're on low, you're at death's door. Like it's literally that's how it got. And but it was just there wasn't really any time of the day where I wasn't involved with gambling. Like I was
Mm.
constantly, if I didn't have a bet on, I was looking for my next bet. You know what I mean? Or looking at ways like one, either to fund the bet, or two, if I had the money, of how, what am I going to bet on? How am I going to win this time? Like whatever else it's, or shit, I've got to lie to the missus again. Like how am I going to like play this out? Like in terms of either do I need to get to the bookies, or if whilst I was doing it on my phone, I was like, oh, how do I, you know, cover this? Oh, I better go. So like I said, we had a conversation earlier. Oh yeah, guts are bad again. Better go for a shit, and constantly in there just going through things like, so it's just, it's constant, like,
Do
and
you think? Sorry. Do you think football was made it worse with the highs and lows in football? Do you think that played a part, or do you think even if you didn't have football, do you think you would have still?
I think I do think that being involved in football, like I say, that competitive nature that always in football, like
Mm.
like you'd have played like Young Be Old on a Friday or whatever else, like you know everyone's desperate to win and like that, like, and that sort of like ingrains it in you, like the competitiveness. Whereas, and in gambling, I was sort of the same as well. So
Mm.
I don't know whether that taught me like to be like that in gambling, or whether it was just a natural thing. Like I say, that's from like childhood traumas or anything else like that. But I do think that football used to be my escape. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
football used to get me away from gambling. I used to go on a training pitch and I was like happy and I crossed that white line, and then it stopped being an escape. You know what I mean? And then at half times I'm sneakily looking at my phone in my pocket, seeing how many bets are getting on, or like, I'm running around the pitch thinking, "Oh, fucking, I wonder if QPR are winning." You know what I mean? And like that was when like I knew it had really got on top of me, like because like I said, football was always my go-to where I could get away from it for a while, then thought stopped. You know what I mean? I could just concentrate on just trying not to be shit for 90 minutes. You know what I mean? Just passing the ball to like to the next person. Like whereas, and then it stops, and then it was just all I could think about. And like I say, and then it just drew me further and further away from football. Like, and I wasn't able to watch football again after that. Like, because I had to have a bet on it. You know what I mean, I'd watch football, and especially when I come away from it, I was like, I'd watch football, and I was like, I have to bet on it. Like, I can't watch it now. And like when I was a kid, I used to watch it, and like, or even as like 16, 17, just about, I'd be like, oh, that's a good pattern of play, like, or whatever else
Mm.
that is. Like, I like that, and then And then I'm watching it like, how many tackles has he made? Like, oh, when's the next corner gonna be? Like, and it's just constant. Like, you never give yourself a break from it. I was just exhausted all the time. Like, but then I went to other sports. Like, when obviously there's only so much football you could bet on, only the amount of time that football's on, and then it became horse racing, became tennis. Like, I used to set my alarm. We used to Australian tennis, like Australian Open, used to come on, and I used to put my bets on before I went to sleep, and I'd set my alarm for like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So I'd always pick like the first couple of games, see how they got on. If they lost, right, I'm back up at 1 or 2, and I'll put a few more on. Get back up at 4 or 5. Next one, see how we're getting on. And it's just how I've like,
It's exhausting in
Yeah.
every way.
Yeah, I know.
I'm an exhausting guy to sit around,
Yeah.
and I'm listening to this, and I'm like, bro, wow.
Yeah.
it just completely took over my whole life. Like, t- I was just at borderline insanity. Like, and I convinced myself it didn't matter how many times I lost or whatever else. Eventually, I started like, buying lottery tickets. I've started buying like the Set for Life on a Monday, and I was like, I'm gonna win this. I was like, not that many people play it compared to Euro Millions. I'll just win this. Like, that's where it took me, and I was like, yeah, don't worry about how much I lose. I'll win the lottery and I'll be fine. And then, like, I'll give loads of money to those that help me or whatever else at the time. And I was just like, it drew me so far away from reality that I eventually just didn't know what to do. Like, and I was caught up in a web of lies, and there was letters coming through the door, and like, to the point where I'm trying to get home before my missus, because I'm like, shit, there's letters. What if she sees them? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that from loan companies that I haven't paid or whatever else, you know. And again, it was just exhausting. And I sat in that grey area for so long of like, right, I need an escape. Like, I tried everything to stop. I tried everything to stop. I tried banning myself online. I tried just like having a set amount of money that I'd do each day, or I'd only bet on this, or I'd ask a friend to put my bets on, so that way I was in more control. And every single time, it just drew me back to the same place. You know what I mean?
I had the word boundaries
Yeah.
tattooed on my right hand, so that I wasn't, when if I was going to do something I shouldn't be
Yeah.
doing, I could see that and go,
Yeah.
just do a little bit of it.
Yeah.
I ended up doing gear off it.
Yeah, and it's like it's just Groundhog Day.
It's
But I sat in that grey area for so long, like, right, I need an escape, and I was like, right, I either kill myself, like that was where I got. I sat in my van once. I had a bit of like blue BT rope, and I'd sat there, and I was petrified. I didn't want to die. I had all these people that still loved and cared for me that didn't know that just thought, oh, he likes a little bit of a bet. Like, nothing major was going on. I had a missus that fucking everything was going brilliantly. Like, she didn't know that half of it either. Like, and then there's me sat in a van, like, oh my god, this is the worst thing in the world. Like, I just got to run away. You know what I mean? Like, when I went into the clinic, they wrote on the board like the word fear, and it was it, and they did an acronym of it, and it was like, um, fuck everything and run, or face everything and recover. And I was just at fuck everything and run. You know what I mean? Like, I'd contemplate, like, once if I don't kill myself, what if I just move somewhere else? Like, don't tell any of my friends and family. I'll just fuck off somewhere. They'll all be better off without me. You know what I mean? And that was the worst bit, because I was too scared to die, but I wanted to kill myself. That was, you know what I mean? I never had the balls to actually go through with it, but I just sat there and I just sobbed for hours and hours on end, because I just didn't know what to do. And in reality, all I had to do was pick up the phone and like tell someone. But that seemed like the biggest job in the world. Like, they always say, oh, like, you've done the hardest bit by telling someone, and that literally was it for me. As soon as I opened my mouth to someone, it was like, I told one of my friends, who's not an addict, he's just a clever bloke. Like, you know what I mean? I knew that he'd see a bit of sense, and he just said to me, he was like, "Wow," he's like, "You're like one of the like most mentally strong people I know," and like, he's like, "And I didn't know that you was going through this." And he rang up the PFA for me. Like, he just rang up the PFA, looked into all avenues. He looked into ways that I could get my debt cut, like, or whatever else. And straight away, I was like, "Oh my god, it's like a bit of relief. Someone else knows. Like, I've got a go to already." And then even when I went into the clinic, I just thought, just go in, I'll get everyone off my back. You know what I mean? I can go in the clinic, I'll have a month away, get everything off my back. I'll tell everyone. Might meet Tony Adams, might take a shine to me, and he'll pay off all my debt. You know what I mean? And I was still insane. Like, I was just thinking, oh, maybe someone else from the Prem is like, is going through the similar shit, and he'll help me out. He'll lend me 100 grand or whatever else, pay off all my stuff, and I could just go back to normal. You know what I mean? And I could just get on with it. And like I say, it took me a week of the best part of a week. I still have like I was saying earlier, I still have my suitcase packed. I was like, I can't do this. Like, you know what I mean? This ain't helping me. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I need to go home. And I just stayed, and like I say, I opened my mind, and I learned to listen. I started listening to people that have been there before and done it, and eventually the penny dropped. But yeah, if I had much longer of not telling anyone, like, I'd have been dead. There's no two ways about it. I'd have been dead because I couldn't cope with that fear of people finding out. It was just chipping away at me slowly and slowly.
That's what I was going to say. With like in your persona, you felt like you had it under control, or you didn't want people to know like what was going on because you carried this picture of your I've got it under control. Like
Yeah.
everyone relies on me, so I need to be fine and stuff like that. And obviously there must have been a turning point. There must have been something that just, you say, it chipped at you away so much that you had to
Yeah.
just drop that.
And I was just exhausted, and I was like, I was just exhausted. Like keeping up with lies and remembering what lies you've told to what people, or where you've hid your bet slips, or whatever else. It was like eventually, like like I say, I'd have been dead or in a mental institution because I just couldn't function. Like I couldn't cope. Like it was just constantly just swimming around in my head, and I was like, the only way out is to kill myself or move away. Like because I don't know where to turn. I don't know how anyone's going to help me. Even if someone helps me and stops me from gambling for the next 2 weeks, I've still got all this debt behind me. You know what I mean? That's still like that's creeping up on me. That's chasing me. You know what I mean? And I had a house with my missus, and I thought at the moment, like I said, at the moment, I thought betting only affects me. Like betting, it's my money, it's whatever else. And then I thought, if they come for my house, that then affects my missus. Like that affects my wife. Like then that becomes someone else's problem, and I can't cope with that. Like you know what I mean? I can cope with it just being me. If I start affecting someone else, I can't live with that. Like you know what I mean? That's the worst of the worst. And yeah, like I say, it took a lot to get me to that point of like reaching out to someone, but it was mainly because I was just too scared to go through with it. So thank God I was.
I think you're a stronger man for putting your hands up and going, this is
Yeah.
it. This is like, and I think that's what people need to understand who are watching it and maybe going through similar situations. That like, put your hands up.
Yeah.
The sooner you put your hands up and say, I've not got hold of this and I need help," I think the sooner the solutions can be presented to you. And that's probably similar to
Yeah.
you. Like, and I think similar to all of us, we've held on to something for so long with a persona. We're trying to hide and showing people that we've got it all under control. But as soon as we've gone, I haven't,
Yeah.
then the situations, the solutions have started to then flow in, and you can. It's almost a big weight. I bet it was a big weight off
Yeah.
your shoulder. Like to start with, a weight just you've told someone.
It was that. It was the feeling of it, and it was also the domino effect of like. So one person's helped me do that, but then that person's put me in touch with someone else that's helped with this bit, and like that. Like they'll have a chat with you about your debt. Like they'll have a chat with you about how you're gonna go. I don't know how we get you into the clinic, or they'll have a chat with you. You've got to have a month off work. How we look after your mortgage whilst you're in there, or whatever else. Like, and things have started sorting themselves out just because I had opened my mouth once.
Mm.
And like I said, this is what I say to everyone when I get phone calls like from newcomers and stuff, and they're at rock bottom, and they're like, "I've got nothing to live for. Like, I've got nothing. Everyone's left me. Everyone hates me." I was like, "Just step out the ring. Just step out the ring for like for 5 minutes. Just step out the ring. Stop getting beaten up, and just see what happens." You know what I mean? Just get out of there for a bit. Get yourselves in the rooms and just start listening to the conversations. Just put yourself in the conversations, because as soon as you take yourself out of those like if I stepped out of the room, if I stopped going to meetings regularly every week, or I stopped phoning other addicts every day, straight back in there, because the complacency of it, of thinking that I'm okay and I'm normal again, creeps back in, and all of a sudden you're back doing the same. So the way I always look at it, and I tell people, when I first got into recovery, I I needed to fill the void. I stopped gambling, and I needed to fill the void. My whole life had been 100 miles an hour around gambling, and when you take that away, fuck, everything's slowed down. You know what I mean? Like, what do I do? Like, all this time and energy I put into my gambling, I now need to put somewhere else, and I need something to stimulate me. And I didn't know what it was at first, but I started like chocolate. I started eating chocolate. And my missus, I'd always been a big chocolate fan, but I'd always eat a fair bit. But then I started doing things, and I'd be like, I'd hiding wrappers from my wife. Like, it's all innocent, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's chocolate. But I start hiding wrappers from my wife. I start looking for coins around the house so I could buy chocolate with it. So it's not on the like I have a joint account, so it's not on the card. So she's like, "Why have you spent another fiver in in the co-op?" Like, and I'm like, shit, I'm doing the same things over and
Yeah.
over again. Like I'm back where I was, but You know what I mean? Although it's not gambling or it's not drinking or it's not drugs, I'm still doing the same things. I'm lying to my wife about how many chocolate bars I've had or whatever else. Like it, and it just creeps back in different forms. Like so, I have to keep on top of it. Like, and people don't see, like, obviously, I do meetings on like Monday and I speak to other addicts, but people don't see that side of things. So they just think, oh, I went to the clinic and I'm all right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay. I had a
Mm,
bet for that long now. I'm just like white knuckling it. But
mm,
I have to work at it. Like, if I don't work at it, I'm fucked. Like,
mm.
I think I speak for all of us in this room, unbeknown to people. There's a few other people here as well. I just looked across at Amber and just said, underline, 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 witnessing kind of that little monologue, just the
Mm,
hearing Mace talk about that. Then, like, it gave me goosebumps. It gave me goosebumps. No, genuinely, it gave me goosebumps. It gave me goosebumps, and I've been there and I've felt it. But irrespective of that, I looked around. I could see you. I
mm,
could look around the room and I could see, like, it was so emotive and it was so powerful and so solution based. And I want to come back to that. So I want to remember this, where we are right now, where you were just at, and I want to come back to that. And when we come towards the end, I want to really look at that, because what you said is going to help a hell of a lot of fucking people. It really,
mm,
really is, Mason. I can't explain to you how I felt that. I've just felt that so much. But there's a gap. There's a gap between you at Colchester now, because I want to talk about what when you realised, we had a question that came about, like, we talked about it last week, where it's all well and good helping and offering this, but, like, when did you know? So I want to talk about kind of Colchester, where you were at what, early 20s would you have been then?
19, I was,
Okay,
yeah.
so there's a gap between then and 26 when you went into Sporting Chance, and then I want to come into the work you now do with them. But in that gap, and you can tell some funny stories in that gap as well. I'm sure that we can, because laughter is the elixir, right? As well, we have
A
to be able
few.
to laugh at these situations, take the power away from them.
Yeah.
We has to. This is real life. Uh, Talk to us about the deterioration of it. So when it stopped becoming kind of like a bit of a bet on football. Talk to us about how bad it got, and when you looked to yourself in the mirror and you went, "Fuck, now's the time." What took you to that point where you go, "Now has got to be the time"? Because I feel like we're missing a little bit there.
Yeah, so obviously, like I finished Colchester, and then, well, I say I finished Colchester on my own accord. Like I had another year's option, and I just went in, and I was like, I don't like it here. Like I've got myself in a few like fair scrapes, like or whatever else that I'm probably never going to get a real look in now. Like just because once your face don't fit, it doesn't fit,
Yeah.
and I'd done that all of my own accord. It was no one else's. I always say there's two parts of being a footballer. Like you're good, like, ability-wise, and then but you're half of it's mentality, and I had nowhere near the mentality to be a professional footballer. Like, I was so far off of that. At one stage, I was relatively good enough, you know what I mean? I could mix it in with I wasn't gonna be fucking outstanding playing the Prem or anything, but I could mix it and probably would have had a good career, but that took me so far away from being in there. So, I knew that I needed another way of life, like, that weren't coming about anymore. So I went into recruitment, and like I was saying to you earlier, I still was treating an office job like a football job. You know what I mean? I'm taking the piss out of the lady who sat in front of me, like just for I don't know, her hair looked strange that day. So fucking hell, have you come to work dressed like that or whatever else? You know, and and I had to have a few conversations. And I remember once we was Cheltenham was on, and I was sat there obviously by my computer screen. No one could see my computer screen, and it was on that famous day where Annie Mac. I don't know how into horse racing you are, but Annie Mac. There was like, basically all the favourites had won throughout the day, and the last horse was basically set to win, and the bookies were about to lose millions. Us punters were all going to win a fortune, and I was one of them, and I was going to win like a massive amount of money. And I'm watching it on the thing, and she's pissing it by about, I don't know, like 30 lengths or whatever else. And she falls at the last. And I literally just went, oh, fuck, like this, like in the middle of the office. Like, and everyone was like pretty silent. They're all looking at me. And I'm like, there, got my hands on my head. I'm nearly in tears. Like, and no one knew at that point, like, what was going on. So there was always like a few signs like, in my jobs and whatever else.
Yeah.
And I floated about a few different jobs and still just gambling, still trying to find enough money like to gamble and stuff. And I went on a building site, and then everyone's the same. Then loads of addictions come into play. Then you know what I mean. There's people that ain't been asleep for 3 days that are in charge of fucking like diggers and heavy machinery, and it's like, fuck, I'm in a hole, and you're like you're digging a hole next to a fucking high voltage cable, and I'm in that hole. Like, and you're telling me that you've had fucking 2 cans of Scrumpy Jacks for breakfast. Like, yeah. So yeah, like I floated about all of that, but in terms of when I truly realised that that I was having probably I've got no hair, to be honest. I probably started thinning out. I must have noticed when I had no hair, like, shit, like, you're 21 years old, you've gone thin, like, you know what I mean? That something must be going wrong. It's probably the gambling, but I just I lost the ability to see the difference between right and wrong anymore. You know what I mean? Every decision that I was making, I was trying to justify. You know what I mean? And when now I look back at it, if I have to justify any decision that I make, it's probably not the right one. You know what I mean? If I have to explain that to somebody else about why it's the right thing to do, I'm probably a bit far off the mark. You know what I mean? And it got to the point where I was looking at that, and I just, like I said, I just lost all the ability of knowing what was right and wrong anymore. And then I had a little check in with myself, and I was like, and I could sort of start like I said, the whole gamble. I thought it was just me. I was the only one involved in it, and I could sort of start seeing like bits where I was like, it was starting to affect others. Like, my mum never had a pot to piss in, and my nan died and left her a bit of money. And I went to my mum and I said, Mum, like, I've got to pay these loans. I've had like, a bit of a gambling problem. I broke down a bit. So can I borrow this and I'll give you it back pretty soon and whatever else. And I went and I spunked the whole money, as an addict does. You know what I mean? If I get hands on money, and you know what I mean, that guilt and that shame eats away at me. Like, that chips away at me even now, because I still haven't fully paid it back. I'm paying it back like bit by bit, but I still haven't paid it back. And my wife gets kind of angry because from an outside view in, she's like, "Why did she give you that money?" Like, you know what I mean? And it's easy to say that, but like, it's my mum. She wanted to help me. She saw
course.
me in distress. She
Yeah.
wanted to help me, and
Master manipulator at the
Yeah,
top
yeah,
as
and,
yeah.
and
well.
exactly, and like, it's easy from the outside to say, "Fucking hell, how stupid is she giving a gambling addict that much money? Like, is she stupid?" But at the same time, like I say, I'd never done anything wrong to my mum before. Like, she had no reason to believe that I was ever going to go and do that. You know what I mean? And then, like I said, and then more and more of those occasions kept happening. Like, I asked friends to borrow money, and they were like, "Oh, I need that money back. Have you got it?" Nah, not yet. You have to wait a couple of weeks. And like, when I started getting to that point, and like realizing how many other people's lives are affecting, like, I don't know, say it's my friend and they're planning on going out with their kids or family, and they ain't got that money to pay for that holiday or whatever else because I still own that money. Like, then that web's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that was when I knew that I really needed to sort it out. And it also got to the point where I'd run out of money and I'd exhausted all options. You know what I mean? There was also, because I didn't want to give up gambling. I wanted all of this baggage to stop. I wanted everyone to just fuck off and leave me alone. I wanted to be able to gamble on my own, at my own accord, with a big pot of money,
Yeah.
and be
Yeah.
able to just carry on as I was going. But I knew I couldn't do that. I had to start being honest, and I had to tell people about what was going on, because that weren't ever going to happen. You know what I mean? Unless I was going to get rid of everyone in my life, which I didn't want to do either, then I had to give. I often use this phrase now, is that for the whole of my life I was giving up everything for one thing, and now I give up one thing for everything,
I love
which
that.
is
Beautiful.
that's the way that I always look at things now, because I gave up a football contract. I worked so hard to get a pro deal, like, all my life, and I gave it up because I weren't earning enough money. And people think as a pro footballer you earn loads of money. As a first year pro at League One, League Two club, you earn fuck all. Like, you know what I mean? Like, my mates on the building site were earning more money than me at the
Yeah.
time, but I knew I needed to go and get a proper job because I had debt. Like, you know what I mean? And I wanted to be home, and I knew that it was like nothing was going well for me at that time. So, you know what I mean? I was giving up everything. I was giving up friendships, relationships. Well, I say relationships. I didn't give up my relationship, but I was doing everything to do that. You know what I mean? I was putting her in every position where she should have fucked off. You know what I mean? And luckily she didn't. You know what I mean? I'm ever so grateful to my wife. She's been fucking brilliant. And like I say, everyone, friends and family, have all been brilliant when they all could have just tossed me off. They all could have just said, "Look, you're too much hard work. Like, don't need the drama in my life or whatever else. Just fuck off and do your own thing, but just don't get me involved in it." But they didn't. They all put an arm around me and said they didn't know how to help me, but they all put their arm around me and tried. Like, so that was when obviously I eventually got in touch with like the PFA and ended up in there. And then seeing other and the PFA was brilliant because I still had this chip on my shoulder. I still had a bit of an ego, like because I used to be able to kick a ball about all right, that I was better than your average Joe that just walks into a normal AA meeting or GA meeting. Like, what makes me any better from them? Just because I could kick a ball a bit better than them? It doesn't. You know what I mean? Life doesn't work that way. But I still had that. So going into that environment of rehab and seeing people that have played in the Prem or whatever else, or been top rugby players, or like played at the top level of their sports, and them saying, "I'm struggling with this," like you know what I mean, or whatever else, and I was like, okay, like I'm starting to find a bit more like similarities now. I'm starting to identify a bit more, and that was when it started to filter through. Like I started to listen to what people were saying, and I remember saying to one of the blokes in there who come and did a talk, Paul Walsh, he played in the Prem, and he won't mind me saying that because he's quite big on recovery and stuff outside of sport. So, I said to him, I said, "Yeah, no, I can do all of this bit, like you know, like all of that, give up gambling and whatever." I said, "I don't think I'll stick with the meetings though. I can't be asked for that." And he just said to me straight away, he went, "I can tell that you don't want it enough." And like the old me would have been like, "Who the fuck do you think you are? You don't know me. Like you don't get to say that to me." Like, and I just went, fucking hell, no, he's got a point. Like, no, he's right. Like, how much do I want it? Like, I can't just pick and choose what bit of recovery I want to do. Like, you know what I mean? I can't just say, oh, I'm going to bend it at my will. I tried it on self will, didn't fucking work.
Yeah.
Ended up like same place every single time,
Yeah.
like Groundhog Day. But, and he said that to me, and I was like, yeah, he's right. Like, you know what I mean? I've got to do this, and I've got to do it the way that they're telling me to do it. I can't just, if they're telling me to do it that way, I can't say, well, I'm different. You know what I mean? I'll do it my own way. I'm a bit different to you. Like, I wasn't. Like, you know what I mean? I wasn't any different to anyone. They were struggling with the same things I was, and it worked for them. So why should I do it any differently? But yeah, so that gap, and like I say, I floated in that gap for ages before I went to the clinic, just of struggling, getting some money, struggling, getting some money, and it was just it wasn't life. Like, it wasn't living life. I'd had a few nice moments. You do, like as you get, like I speak to alcoholics. They've had some of the best nights of their lives when they were drunk, but don't really remember them. Can't appreciate anything around it. They have that one night and spend the next 2 weeks where they're like regretting everything that they've done in between. And that was sort of where I had some highs, won big bets, whatever else, pay for a holiday or whatever else. And but the rest of my life was a shambles. You know what I mean? And it was starting to become a mess for everyone around me. And like I say, as self-centered as I was, as soon as I started, eventually noticed it affecting people around me, I started realizing I have to do something, or everyone's gonna fuck off and leave me.
Um, yeah. So, makes you I share that same that moment when you know rock bottom. I mean, I had many rock. I'm sure you had multiple rock bottoms. I had so many versions of rock
Yeah,
bottom, and interesting. You talk about like I first went into rehab for mental health conditions the day after I'd played at Wembley, and I come out and I was telling everyone, "Oh, I'm recovered," and I was divorced and arrested within a week. And that's this, within 7 days of leaving that door. And like, it's funny, but like yeah,
Yeah,
like
nice.
it's I didn't learn then. I don't think I began the near 2 years sobriety I'm in now until about a year and a bit after that, and it wasn't until I was very publicly shamed for my addiction, and the people that I loved and saw me for what I was. They really so the letters that come through the door, the bank statements, the thing like I couldn't hide it anymore. I was a manipulator. I couldn't hide it. It was I had an Instagram profile made about my behavior and showcased for everyone to see, and people were laughing at it and they thought it was funny, but to the people that loved me, it was oh, one of their worst days, and definitely one of mine. And in that moment, I realized my actions, my selfish actions, funding my habit, is having a massive effect on other people. So I turned up at a church in Luton on a rainy day, this grey day, and I was met by all these people who were being so nice, and I was thinking, what are they being so nice for? And I went in, and it was all a bit like again, I was looking around and thinking, he's got no teeth. She's she's not got any shoes on. Like, what's going on here? Why am I here? And then I just surrendered to it, and I left that meeting, and they all started texting me. They all took my phone numbers, and
Yeah.
then they all started texting me, going, "You all
Yeah,
right?
it's
What's going on?"
insane.
Like, I was going, "What the fuck do this lot want?" Like,
Yeah.
and I thought, well, I'm at rock bottom. I may as well just give it another go. And I kept on going, and I kept on going, and I quite quickly realised for this to work in the same way. Was it Paul Walsh or Tony? What was
Yeah,
it?
Paul Walsh,
Paul
yeah.
Walsh said to you, "You don't want it enough." But my realisation was like, I've come in to appease other people to kind of almost make a, oh look, I'm doing something about it. But it was more, I was like, this has to be for me. Helping others will come at a later date. This has to be for me now. And I have to get better before I can help anyone else
Yeah.
get better. And that realization is it's a really freeing one. It's a really when you've been exhausted for so long to just go,
Mm.
give in. I give up. And giving up could have looked like in your case and in my case, dying.
Yeah.
Like really, it's that
Yeah.
huge of an issue that you want to run so far you just don't want to exist anymore. I always tried to run away, and in any way you can run away, whether it be death, country, like putting yourself in. You just want to get out of it, and it was in that moment when you surrender to it all and just go, please help me, and the people there hold their arms out
Yeah.
and they do. It's so immensely powerful, and without doubt, I wouldn't be sat here today doing this, having this conversation in a positive way without that. And I don't think you would do either. And
No.
we can see
Mm.
how huge your heart is, and how you've got great interpersonal skills. You've got this huge heart. Like you really care. You really care. I can clearly see that. And you
Yeah.
would have made that decision in that moment as well in yourself for others.
Yeah.
And then, and so Paul Walsh says to you, you don't want it enough, or you're. Did you have that same realization that this has to be for me now? Did you?
It it has to be for me because anything I put before recovery, I'll lose. So if if I decide right today, I ain't gonna go to a meeting, right? I'm gonna go and play football, all right, instead. So straight away, I've already missed out on a meeting or whatever else. But or if I decide that right, I'm gonna drop recovery for a bit, you know what I mean? I'm just gonna spend time with my wife or whatever else. Eventually, the only thing that stops me from gambling is is recovery, is the
Mm,
program and the people in it. So if I leave that to one side, and although I feel like I'm doing good, like I'm spending more time with my family, I'm doing this, or whatever else, I'm working more, I will lose all of that because if that creeps back in, all of that's gone. So that's why it's so important because my wife didn't get it at first. Like when I first said this to her, I said like I have to put recovery before you. I said because you won't stay with me if I don't have that. Like you will go. Like there's only so much you will take if I do not stay in recovery. Um, so obviously, yeah. So I have to put recovery before everything else because if I don't, I will lose it. Uh, but at the same time, is I go into their meetings now, and I enjoy being in their meetings. I know I'm in the right place. You know what I mean? There's people now like my phone just constantly goes off with newcomers like Sporting Chance. Like, will say, "Oh, he's struggling with gambling. Will you talk to him? Like, he's in the position that you're in." And I do that, and I get just as much from recovery as what I did with them telling me their stuff and me trying to help them as what I do from me telling other people my stuff. But when I first went into recovery, like I became I call him a two-step twat. You know what I mean? I did the first two steps or did the first three steps in the clinic, and then came out and I was at step 12. Like, I was already trying to tell people how to live their lives. You know what I mean? That's it. I'm cured. I've fixed mine. You know what I mean? I'm going to tell you how to do yours now, and that's not how it works. You know what I mean? I have to get through all them other stages. You know, I can only speak from experience rather than giving advice. You know what I mean? Like I can't. I'm in no position to give advice to anyone. I'm in a position where I can tell you what I've been through and what others have been through and how that might help you. But I can't do recovery for you. Like you have to be able to do it yourself. You have to get it. You have to get it. And I, I deal with so many people that just aren't quite ready. You know what I mean? They haven't quite hit their rock bottom yet. They phone up when they've had a bad day or whatever else, and they're like, fuck, I can't do this anymore. And I phone them next week and they say, oh, no, I'm all right again now. Like, doesn't work like that. Like, you have to, once you hit your rock bottom and you throw yourself into recovery, you'll truly get it. But when I came out of the clinic, I thought I'm gonna be boring. I'm gonna have lost my whole personality. Like all of a sudden, I was this like bright, fun like lad that people like listening to, and I'd have like loads of war stories, and I'd tell them all the shit that I've done, and they'd laugh. And now I'm gonna come out of the clinic, and I'm gonna be this person that's saying, "Hang about, no, I need to go to a meeting on Monday. Like, no, I can't come to the casino. If you're having a stag do in Vegas, I won't be there. Like, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden, I have to start telling people that, and I had to find a balance as well. Like again, life is. I didn't know balance if it had come around and hit me in the face. You know what I mean? I had to start finding balance because I'd go too much recovery and I'd go, I'm not playing football anymore. Football's bad for me. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. And then I'd be miserable. And then that would send me to fuck it. If I'm miserable, I want to go and have a bet. So then I had to find a balance. Like, okay, I'll still do football. I'll still have a good time or whatever else, but I'll also do this. I'll also do a bit more recovery and I'll speak to a few more addicts. You know what I mean? And when I started finding balance, it was no coincidence my life started getting a hell of a lot better because up until then, I didn't know whether I was coming or going. And again, like I was in another grey area. I was in a different grey area. I didn't want to kill myself or anything this time, but I was in an area of like, what do I do? Like, do I start people pleasing again, or do I be a miserable bastard and I be safe? Or I had to find a common ground and start learning how to. I had to learn how to live again. I didn't know how to live. I mean, I was living my life just through gambling, and I was just winging it day by day. You know what I mean? One best thing that they teach you in recovery is one day at a time. Because I sat in there, and like I said, I didn't want to give up gambling at the time I went in. I just wanted all my financial issues and to stop. I wanted my relationship issues to get better, like with friends, and I wanted to stop lying. But I didn't want to stop gambling. I loved gambling. I still probably would. If I went out to bet now, I would love it. I just don't like all the consequences it brings, and I know where it takes me. But I I have to look at it one day at a time. I just have to say to myself every time I wake up in the morning, I say, I'm not going to have a bet today. Because if I say I'm not going to have a bet for the next 2 years, that's fucking daunting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's daunting. When I was in the clinic, I was like, all of a sudden, I can't go to Cheltenham anymore. Like, I can't go to Vegas. I can't watch Gillette and bet on a Saturday with Jeff and the boys. You know what I mean? With all my mates whilst they're going through their bet slips. I can't do that anymore. Like, that's daunting. But what I can do is just say, oh, today I ain't gonna have a bet. Like, I'm just gonna get up, gonna do my normal stuff. I'm gonna speak to other addicts. And if I don't have a bet today and I get my head on a pillow, then I'll start again tomorrow. You know what I mean? And that's just how I have to live my life now on a daily basis. Because if I get too far ahead of myself, it just fucking it takes me back into the thick of it, and like I start having crazy thoughts. Like I say, I don't go into my head unless I'm escorted by an adult because if I have an idea, I have to run it by another addict like straight away. I have to say, Am I being a bit mad here, or am I talking some sense?" And they're like, "Nah, yeah, you can't do that," and I'm like, "Fair enough, okay, I can't do that." Or yeah, it's just that's just the way my life works now. Like, and if I stop talking to those people and I stop putting myself in those conversations, then I'm straight back out there.
Do you think you're sorry? Do you think
So you
you're
can
in the present moment now? Then, so every day you live in the present moment. But before you were probably living in the regret of what you've done and fear of the
Yeah,
future. So now
absolutely.
you're
You've hit the nail on the head. Constant fear of what I'm gonna do next, or what, of like people I'm gonna hurt or
mm,
whatever else, and constant regret and shame of what I've done.
mm,
You know, the guilt riddled me. Like, so when I came out of the clinic as well, I worked insane hours. Like, and I still struggle with this bit now. Like I said, it's the first week I've had off in a long, long time because I still feel guilt and shame. I still have debt. I want to pay that off as quickly as I can. Like, so I work all the hours under the sun, and then I get myself into such a state where I'm like, shit, take yourself out of this, like because I'm snappy at my wife. I'm not in the right frame of mind to play football or whatever else, and I get so built up on those stuff, and that I have to bring myself back down to earth. And the only way I do that is by speaking to other addicts and going to meetings. Because I do one on a Monday and it gets me set up for the week. You know what I mean? That's because then I know, right, okay, just had the weekend, you know what I mean? It's a bit of like out of structure. Weekends usually are, you know what I
mm.
mean? I've not been at work. Sometimes might have had a shit weekend, I might have had a really good weekend, and I need leveling out again. So I have that meeting on a Monday and it levels me out again because like I say, I can't get too far ahead of myself, or I can't stay too far behind
Yeah.
because. And it all sounds very cliche and a bit fucking nonsense, but that's what I have to do.
Mm.
I don't think like normal people. I don't like. I have to have this way of thinking,
Mm.
otherwise, I'm a dickhead again.
Mm.
So it's something that excites me. Like I have to stay away from it because I know I'll be exactly the same with crypto as what I will be with betting on a football match.
Mm.
Because to me, it's just posh gambling. That's what I look at it as. Because if I put some money into it, I'm checking it every minute of the day. Is that up? Is that down? Like when I first started gambling, I went into forex as well, which is like that's constantly changing on like political statements and stuff like that. I couldn't keep up. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just putting money in and hoping it went up. And if it didn't, it went down. I was like, fuck, why has Donald Trump said that? Like, you know what I mean? I had no idea what the fuck was going on. I was just sort of like in it because I was like, fuck it. That sounds like a good way to make money or like lose me money as it turned out. But yeah, like I just think if you're an addict, you have to like I said, that fella there is finding new ways all the time to get me back in the ring, all the time. Whether that be crypto, whether that be trying to help someone else with a bit more money, whether that be lottery tickets, winning raffles, or he's finding ways that would just dip my toe back in the water, so it gets me back doing the full thing again.
Mm.
So I would always say, like, obviously, crypto's out there, but people have made loads of money out of it, and that's for people that are good investment, that are knowledgeable about it, and that's fair enough. But for this is where I will give advice. If you're an addict, I would stay a million miles away from it because we don't think like normal people. We don't process that sort of stuff. If I that will take over my life, and because that's on the phone as well, I'll be looking at it every minute and every day of my life, and every penny that I get, I'll be trying to put into it. Like now, I don't gamble, and obviously, I've still got debt. My mind's still thinking of ways that I can get rich. You know what I mean? Like I'm finding ways. I'm thinking of, oh, if I do that, maybe I'll pay off all my debt. I'll be like this. The only way I find now is honest hard work. You know what I mean? If I'm not going to be a millionaire overnight, but if I go out and work hard and I earn and I take a lot more pride and pleasure in my money now than what I used to.
Yeah.
If I want a few grand on a bet, you know what I mean? Like brilliant or whatever else. But if I get a few grand in my bank account now because I've gone out and earned it in a hard honest way, it fucking means the world to me. And I look after that money now. You know what I mean? I'll spend it in different ways to what I used to because like I said, it was never about the money. Money meant fuck all to me. I was worried about the money and about all the consequences it brought,
Yeah.
but actually having the money, didn't give a shit. You know what I mean? I didn't want. At one point, I never like. I don't really like to talk numbers in about how much I won or how much I lost, but I had a lot of debt, and I had in one point in my betting account, I had like 40 grand in my account. It would have paid off a massive chunk of my debt, if not nearly all of it. And I was like, I'll just get to the next milestone. I'll just get to the next milestone. So that was when I knew it stopped being about money. It didn't matter about money. It was about me escaping the way that I felt. Like, and because gambling was a safe space for me. It was like, it was where I wanted to be. I didn't have to answer any questions to anybody. I could just bet and I would be in the moment. But it's never about the money. And like I say, hence why I say about the ideas, I run them around like other people because I'm like Del Boy. I'm trying to find a way of being a millionaire. Like, and I start scheming. I start doing things that probably ain't right, not morally right. And it's like, bring yourself back down to earth, go to work, earn your money, come home. And if you haven't got the money to spend on fucking with something in your head that you dreamed of or whatever, so be it. I'll work hard. I'll set that as a target. I'll try and get a nice holiday for my family. You know what I mean? And whilst I'm there, I'll appreciate it more. Bec-
That's it's the appreciation, and I there's something you said earlier that I wanted to just come back to. You described this taking it one day at a time, and so waking up every morning and saying, "I'm just not going to have a bet today," and that's it. And it sat to the naked ear, if you will. That might sound a bit boring or a little bit lacking ambition. The reality is, I forgot about all the beauty and all the small stuff forever because it was always for me it was a line or a pint or a bird or whatever. Like for you, it was that it was the gambling. Like I forgot. Like I remember the first day I heard the birds sing again.
Mhm.
I forgot them fuckers
Yeah.
sang for 10 years. I was like, have they been doing that the whole time?
Yeah. Yeah.
Genuinely, like, and it was like the smell of a coffee in the morning, like on a Sunday without a hangover. I was like sitting in bed with the dogs with a coffee and going, life is so good.
Yeah.
Life is so good. but I stopped seeing it
Yeah.
because it was so dependent on my next fix to make me happy. And so recovery, it's not so that fear you had of becoming boring. You didn't. You became this wonderful person. I'm sitting here with you today, enjoying every second of your company.
Yeah. I
Enjoying
just appeal to a new market now. That's the way I
Yeah,
look at it. Like,
and you've lost Vegas. That's fine. But
Yeah.
you've gained so much more.
Exactly, like I say, and when you're in recovery, and when I was in there, when I was in the clinic, we did scuba diving. It was only in a pool, but my head had been a washing machine for so long. Voices just fucking constantly battering, do this, do that, blah blah blah. I put this I put this tank on, and it's all about just like regulating your breathing and stuff. They do loads of cold water stuff and that now. I've never tried it, but obviously they say that works brilliant. But I went under the water, and you're only in a swimming pool in a champney somewhere, yeah. So I'm not looking at like fucking tropical fish or anything like that, yeah. I'm looking at like Susan who's 60 and a bikini like dry. But I went under, and for the first time ever, it was like just peace and serenity. Like, and I couldn't believe it. Like when they said we're going scuba, I said, "What the fuck am I doing scuba diving? I've got a gambling problem. Why the fuck am I going scuba diving?" All right, and we went there, and I remember speaking to like the bloke who done it with us, like, and I was like, "That's the first time my head's gone quiet. Like that's the first time I felt normal in like years. Like I've just stopped having conversations with myself. I've just completely like in the moment. And like you say to normal people, like lads at football, and like, ever I like a dip into recovery, talking to them about it, and they ain't got like addiction troubles. They oh, fuck off, mate. You're boring, like or whatever. Stop talking about that, like or whatever else. And I just appeal to a new market now. Like the people that have been through those struggles, like they like having these conversations and whatever else. But obviously, in a football changing room or whatever else, no one wants to hear about that. Like so, but like you said earlier, like it's about bringing humor to it. If you make recovery seem like it's all doom and gloom and boring, you've got to stick your head in a fucking in an AA book, and you've got to go to meetings and listen about people wanting to kill themselves and stuff like that. You'll never get it.
No.
You'll never get it, and you'll never stick with it. But if you start listening to people's shares, and like sometimes you get fucking boring shares. You don't identify with everyone. That's the way the world works. Like I could sit here and talk to you, and like you're nice people and whatever else. I might sit. There might be someone sat there next time who I can't identify with anything. I've got no common ground with them at all. Like other than we've both been through true struggles of addiction, but his share might be boring as fuck. But I have to try and take something from that share. I have to get a little nugget of information that might help me in my daily life. Because if I don't, then I'm out of the room. You know what I mean? I'm looking. Oh, where's that squirrel? Like, you know what I mean? I'm fucking constantly looking for ways that I can't engage with that. So I have to treat everyone like with the same respect. And like if they've got something to say, I'll try and find something the way that works in my life. Because finding the peace and serenity in life of the little things is priceless.
Oh my
Like
God.
I've lost so much money and spent so much money on gambling, but like I say, like they talk about higher power in the meetings and stuff, and you'll know this. And when I first walked in, they mentioned the word God, and I was like, "Alright, I'm out." I was like, I ain't religious, I ain't doing all that stuff. Like, don't tell me to find Jesus or whatever else. It's not happening. And that some people believe in that or whatever else. Everyone each to their own. Like, that's not me. I didn't want to do that. But then they sort of broke it down. They said the word God as group of drunks. That was that they broke it down into like an anomaly. Like so, I started looking at that like higher power, and they was like, a higher power isn't necessarily a god or a religious like thing. It's something that's more powerful than you that can help you out of a situation. Like so, my higher power is in like nature and animals. So I go out there and I have a different way of thinking. I go for a walk, and I take a dog for a walk. Like I mentioned to you, when I was in the clinic, I'd take a dog for a walk for like 2 weeks because I didn't know what else to do. And my way of thinking when I'm out there is a lot clearer, and I like appreciate more things. I'm saying good morning to people. When I was gambling, I was out head down, fucking phone like this, like gambling. Oh, shit, what am I gonna do? Like I'm gonna run away. Now, oh morning, you okay? Like you know what I mean? It's a whole different way of thinking, having this new sort of higher power, and also having the higher power, it takes things out of my control. You know what I mean? As an addict, I want to control everything. I'm a control freak. I, if something's out of my control, I'm out of my comfort zone. You know what I mean? But I can't control everything. If I sit in there in traffic all day, I'm fuming. You know what I mean? But I can't control the traffic, so I have to pass that over and say, look, nothing you can do about that now. You know what I mean? Just give that somewhere else because I'll spend the rest of my day moaning about that traffic. You know what I mean? I'll be fuming about that traffic. That fucking idiot, he didn't go at the red light. I had to wait another wait in the red light. She cut me out or whatever else. And it would just ruins my day. And I hang on to things. Like the same way as I get obsessed with things. If I find something new that's good, I obsess over it. And that's just the addict in me. Like I find a song, I'll listen to it on repeat. I mean, I find something nice to eat. I'll have poached eggs and salmon every night of the week if I'm in that mood. Like you know what I mean? And that's we moved, my missus hates it because I get obsessive and like half the stuff I never carry on. So we live by the canal. First bought a house by the canal. I was like, fuck it, I'll get a fishing rod. Like, I'll just go fishing. So I went out, I spent about £1,000 on fishing gear. I went fishing once. You know what I mean? I went fishing once. It sat in the garden for ages, and I do that. And my missus has to keep on checking. She goes, "You're having one of your moments again." Like, and she literally just has to ground me down. And I want to fight back. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm into this. Like, I really care about it. And then 2 weeks later, she goes to me, "You haven't mentioned that since." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're probably right on that one." But it's just don't think like normal people. Like it, and people think that that's like, oh no, you're just attention seeking or whatever else. Like, and sometimes it might be. Like I say, you're all constantly looking for validation on things. And sometimes it might be attention seeking, but I don't think like normal people. But I found a way of thinking that works for me now that allows me to live relatively normally.
So I've got a question.
Yeah, I was.
For both of you.
Yeah,
Obviously, don't have to mention names, anything like that. Like when you obviously in your meetings and you're saying you pick up nuggets in like of like great gold and stuff like that. Like what have they been? Like what things have you heard that have resonated with you that have helped you? The same with you.
that traffic. What I was going to say then. Interestingly, I was going to go. This is like looking in the mirror for me, and I'm sure you can see so much
Yeah,
of me
yeah,
in him. I'm
yeah,
sure you're literally
yeah.
looking. At
Is your
Mason.
hair on the way out as well?
The very much the this is I get this.
Mm.
It's like looking in the mirror, and I was going to turn to you just then and say I've got a million questions for him. Perhaps not even on this, but
Yeah.
I was going to say for you, is there anything that you want to ask on this? Because this it just makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like this isn't new to me. I'm looking at it and going, yeah, this is brilliant. Like this is
Bits
how
of
I
it
live
makes
my
sense
life.
to me for kind of what I've gone through and my struggles, and it's really interesting because like when you think about people betting, it's just like put a few quid on and you like I have to put another few quid on, and you don't actually really understand the monumentalness of it, of like how deep it actually goes and how obviously how it's affected your whole life, and
Yeah.
obviously what that entails. The same for you with your addiction. It's just I think it's just amazing what we're doing here to hear these things, and it gives me a bit of insight. It'll give other people a bit of insight, and as I said, like it's just I wanted to know the nuggets of information and stuff that you've got from your meetings and you got from yours. That's kind of like resonated with you. That's helped you then step forward, and then obviously then help you share because obviously you're doing great work with what you're doing. You're doing great work. So how does that information you've gathered? How's that helped you, and then how's that helped you share that beyond?
Yeah, and I think, and again, it becomes a sort of attentive thing. Like, whereas before I was in the meetings and I wasn't listening, and now I do listen. And now, again, a lot in the meetings, I see newcomers come in all the times, and they all say the same things. It might be a slightly different story, but they all say like the same things. And then I watch that. This is the best thing about recovery. The best thing about recovery is I've literally watched people come in on their ass. They're on death's door. They've had failed suicide attempts, and I've been with them for a couple of years or whatever else, and sat with like same sort of groups of people, and their lives. So they say that you can have a life beyond your wildest dreams when you enter like into recovery and into the clinic, and you think, what a load of horse shit! Like life beyond my wildest dreams, and like I say, it's not necessarily like being a millionaire or having a fucking fast car or going on an amazing holiday. It's about just having a life where you appreciate sort of things. And
You're rich in so many other
yeah,
ways.
and it again, it sounds fucking so boring to some other people. And some of the cliches when I first started sound so boring, but it's like it's just living life on life's terms, which is also what I found. People have shit days. You know what I mean? Like everybody has problems in their life. Like just because I'm in recovery doesn't mean my life's gonna go swimmingly now for the rest of all time. Like even if I don't have a bet, doesn't mean everything around it's gonna be like fucking brilliant. But normal people who aren't addicts have shit days and have problems. You know what I mean? Like their problems are no worse than mine. They're just better equipped at dealing with them a lot of the time. Like whereas we're not. But it's just about dealing with life on life's terms. And just because life gets a bit shit, don't have to run and go and have a gamble. Like, you don't have to fucking go and have a bet because someone's pissed me off in traffic, or someone's let me down, or my tyres popped on the van. I've got to go and pay for that. I'm not going to have a bet to fucking pay for it. Whereas that was how my mind used to work. But in terms of the golden nuggets of like in the meetings, there's so many little things that, and a lot of the time it works in mysterious ways because there'll be like topics on the meetings and stuff, and it's stuff that you didn't realize that you needed to hear, and then like you're like, fuck, that makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? And it's a variation of stuff. But people would just be talking about like they spoke to someone throughout the day, they were feeling this, they emptied their head in the meeting, and it took the power out of it. Like that's what I have to go and do. Like even for me now, this is like a meeting for me now because I come in here, I empty my head, I take all the power out of my thoughts, so it don't get fucking a hold of me, and I feel better again. And it's just a constant cycle of doing that regularly. But in terms of golden nuggets, I can't really think of one necessary thing because it's constant.
Yeah.
It's a constant flow of people saying, "I did this to help me," or I had a conversation with someone today, or it's even things like seeing the success stories, people going on their first holiday without having a drink, or going away with their kids and like being present, like not sitting by the pool and just fucking getting blasted by like they're in the pool, like no idea where their kids are or whatever else. Like it's just things like that. It's seeing the success stories, and it's also about seeing the people that come in through the door that are completely fucked, like where I was, like they're at their rock bottom, they're completely fucked, and it's a constant reminder of I don't want to go back there.
Yeah.
Like whilst we need the people in the rooms that have like no recovery, been there a long time to guide us, like help us there. I also need the people that come in that are fucked because I'm like, you look like shit right now. I don't want to be there. You know what I mean? Obviously, don't say that to them, but it's exactly what we're all thinking. Like you're going through exactly what I was going through 4 years ago, and that's a reminder for me where I don't want to be. So I have to listen to these and do this to not be that.
So that's why I'm meeting. Sorry, that's why I'm meeting such a good to the consistency because it gives you that
Yeah.
understanding of where you've been,
And
where
it's
you-
a revolving door.
yeah,
Like,
Miraculous.
and you get people that relapse. You get people, like, and sometimes it comes and bites you in the ass because you get people that have been there for a few years. You've listened to everything they say, and then all of a sudden they come back in and go, "Boys, I've had a relapse." Like, and that takes the biggest load of bollocks to come in and say, "Do you know what? I've had a relapse." Like, I mean, I don't even know if I've had. Oh, like, luckily enough, I haven't relapsed, but I don't know if I'd have the bollocks to go into a meeting and say, "Boys, I know you've been listening to me for the last God knows how long, and I've helped loads of you, and I've give you loads of advice, but I've just completely gone against all that, and I've just gone and had a bet or whatever else." Like, so
is that a driver in you?
yeah, massively. And I also have to be careful of that because it becomes a bit of a pressure. Like it becomes like, oh my god, people are looking up to me now, like in this meeting, like they think that I've got it all sussed out. I haven't got it all sussed out. You know what I mean? There's times where there are times where I have crazy thoughts and I think, oh fuck it, like I'll just have a go on the lottery. You know what I mean? Like why not? I'll go in the garage, I'll get me petrol, I'll buy a lottery ticket. Like, and if I win, you know what I mean, then maybe I'll go into recovery more. Like it's a constant cycle of him trying to get me back in there and me trying to stay out of it. Like, but like I said, just staying in the meetings is just so important for me because everyone brings something different, and it's all different scenarios of life. You know what I mean? Like it's, and like I said, it could be any sort of substance. It could be drugs, alcohol, sex, sleeping tablets, gambling. It's all the same principles, just a different substance.
It's. I'm just going to echo what Mason said. It teaches you. It doesn't. There's not one golden nugget because there is a golden nugget in every single conversation, every single meet. This is the reality is in every share, in every moment, in every conversation. There's a golden nugget, but it teaches you on a wider perspective, kind of human tendencies that will set you up for life in such a beautiful way. Like we said earlier, humility is a huge one. Compassion, like patience, like listening, like they're like really like things that you'd think you were okay with, but you're not really in those environments. And I found all those things in abundance in those rooms, and I thought I was those things before, and I wasn't really. And it was, I think, the biggest thing for me, and I can almost guarantee you'll feel the same. I learned not to hate myself. I don't hate myself today. Before I walked into those rooms, I hated I fucking hated myself.
Yeah.
I hated myself. I hated what I'd become. I hated the lies. I hated it. I hated everything about me. I did, and that's why I wanted to die, like I wanted to run away from it
Mhm.
because I would I would I would use or drink to take those feelings away for a while. But when it was just me and me, I was just like, "You're a cunt.
Yeah.
You're the most abhorrent thing on this planet." I couldn't reason with that voice. It was just
Yeah.
like no one else is going through what you're going through. No one else knows how you feel. You are this awful thing. You've got to hide it from everyone else. And I sit here today and I'm like, I, fundamentally, I still make mistakes. I still have issues, but fundamentally, I know I'm trying to do good. I put my head on the pillow at night and I'm
Mm.
like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not without. I had a situation recently where I was stuck at an airport and the flight got delayed, and it was like a 4 hour delay late at night. It was like midnight, and I thought if I drank now, this situation would be a breeze.
Mm.
Like I I could just get pissed for 4 hours. And you know what? If the flight got further delayed, I'd be buzzing. I'd be like,
Yeah.
I can just drink more. I can sit in this airport, drink more, and it's an excuse to just get battered. And I would love it. And I sat there, and this is another cliche they give you in the rooms. The best thing about recovery is you get your feelings back.
Yeah.
The worst thing about recovery is you get your
Yeah.
feelings back.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was like, I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I'm stuck, I'm lonely, I'm in this space. And listen, I've done trips to Ibiza and not drank and sniffed. I've done Glastonbury and not drank and sniffed. Like I've done big things and been okay. And it was in that moment there at fucking an airport where I
Yeah.
was like, I could. I really love a drink. I'd really love to have a beer now because I'm stuck in it. And I didn't. Of course, I didn't. Like I stayed with it, but you never know when you could slip up. And it's by the continuation of talking to other people and being in those environments. It's you're part of a God, the higher power, the faith is in something more powerful than you, and I knew that that thing would take me backwards. So it's taught me to feel it and recognize it, and not try and push it away, and not run away from it, and go, okay, this is frustrating.
Mm.
What can I do alternatively? Okay, we can. Holly and I booked a hotel, got a good night's sleep, and flew again in the morning. And I think we lost a couple hundred quid because we had to book an extra hotel and get a cab. We might claim it back, we might not. You don't know, but the grand scheme of things is I'm still here today.
Yeah.
Like I'm still, and if I had a drink, like I'd never know where I would be. But there was, I remember one share, and the traffic thing. It was something that kind of resonated with me. And this guy talks about. He told me this thing where he was at these bridges, and there's no real right of way, and they both his cars came together. Like they're both kind of in front of each other, and he could have reversed, but he had people behind him. He could have reversed, but he had people behind him, and it was kind of this standoff. And he was like, fuck you, you fucking go back. And the other guy's giving it back to him, fuck you, you go back. I'm here first. I'm here first. And this guy's sharing and he's kind of early into his recovery. He says, well, I'm getting out and I'm going to fucking have him. I'm going to hit him. I'm going to he doesn't know how bad my day's been. I'm going to fucking have him. And he said he started walking towards this car and he remembered what kind of they taught in the meetings. We talk about compassion, letting things go, like kind of understanding other people. And he got towards him and he just dropped his tone and softened and went, you've probably had a really long day as well, mate. Do you want to get? Oh, do you know what? I'll just reverse. And the other guy said, Sorry, mate. You're right. Actually, oh, don't worry. I'll go back." And it's these moments that the small things in your day that you could approach with the same previous um, learnt behaviors that you don't anymore. It's not even. It doesn't even become about the substance or the
Mm.
abuse or the addiction. It teaches you human characteristics that I thought I had within me, but that really guided me towards the light of what they were really.
Yeah.
And there's no specific kind of situation or story I've had that has hit me. Um, but I'll share a quote which you may have heard, Mason. And it's from the book about the mining for gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've actually got this tattoo has maybe become my new addiction. So I've actually got a little mining hammer on my back to remind me that sobriety, clean time, whatever, however you want to look at it, it's like you're mining for gold. You're banging at the walls. You're desperately trying to find, especially in your case, that one big pot of gold, that thing that will change everything. And you're in every pint, in every line, in every sexual experience, and every bet, whatever your addiction is, you're hammering away trying to find that pot of gold, that one thing that's gonna make it all make sense. And then you find sobriety, or you find cleanness, or you find a solution to your addiction, or a program that's going to help in that, and you discover an endless supply. It's riches beyond your wildest dreams, like money you could never spend, but it comes with one rule, and that one rule is that you must give it all away at the end of every day, knowing all well it will return the next. and that's that one day at a time.
Mm.
That's that put my head on the pillow knowing I'm just not gonna have a bet today.
It's that
And
present moment.
that's that endless goal. That's the lottery win every day, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I just have to play the tape forward every time I get into certain situations. Like because if stuff like that happens to me, and then I think, okay, I'm gonna go on a mad one now. That's it. I'm just gonna go and have a bet. I'm gonna do this or whatever else. I have to play the tape forward and see where it gets me.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm.
and then I slowly it changes my way of thinking. Like, yeah, I have learnt to press the pause button. Because before I just pressed the fuck it button and I was just like, right, that's it. I'll just go and do that. I'll deal with the consequences later.
Mm.
Whereas now the recovery has taught me so much of just a coping mechanism. I thought I had a gambling issue. I didn't. I had a me issue. I
Mm.
had a lot of self traits that were fucking bad. Like that I didn't know that I had until I learned about them. Like gambling just brought them to the surface. Like so I had to go away and work on me rather than, and like you say, that self love. There was had to find a little bit of that because even though I had an ego and stuff before, I didn't have any sort of self love. I had low self esteem. So I had to go away and sort of move away from all the guilt and the shame of everything because if I kept going back there was no room for me to improve and get better. You know what I mean? If I kept diving back into, oh no, I feel really bad about that, but I couldn't I couldn't move forward if I kept going back there. So yeah, I owe everything to recovery. I owe everything to Sporting Chance. And that, like I say, I've now got a little boy that every day I look at him and I would not have had that. You know what I mean? I got married, my wife's brilliant. I've still got all my family and friends. Like, I didn't have any of that to look forward to. Like I cried at my wedding because I looked out and I thought, I shouldn't even be here. Like I shouldn't even be here. I stood up in front of the room and very rarely cry, but I stood up and I fucking blubbed like a baby. And I looked because I just looked out and I thought, I nearly gave all that away. I looked across and I thought, I nearly never saw any of you again.
Mm.
Like I was that close to never seeing any of you again. And now I've got all my favourite people in one room who are there for me and my wife. You know what I mean? Like, and they want to be there and they want to be involved in my day. And that to me was like the best moment ever.
You did it.
Mm.
Yeah. And I was just like, this is why I do it. And this is why I continue to still do it. You know what I mean? And there'll be more moments like that in the future where I know if I keep doing the right things and keep doing the next right thing, I'll be all right. I am gonna fuck up on the way, but I've got a road to go back to. Sometimes I'll take the wrong turn, but I've got a road to go back to. Whereas before, that road was just fucking leading around in circles. So now I've got an idea of where I need to be, who I need to talk to every time I make a mistake.
I hearing that. That is the we're coming to a natural end of the conversation now anyway, because we could talk here for about 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
I'm conscious we've been talking for nearly 2. But I've been
I'm blown away.
yeah,
I'm blown
mesmerised.
away. Like,
I'm mesmerised by the strength and the
oh yeah, I was gonna say the strength of character, like to go through what you've gone through, to come through that, to understand what you're going through, how to put that right, and obviously giving it back to other people. Credit to you, mate. It's unbelievable. I'm buzzing. We've had this chat.
I,
Like
I'm
this has been so. It's just been so eye opening.
Yeah, I'm glad I offered something. I'm not the usual ilk of guest on this
No,
show. You know what I mean? I'm not like
yeah.
a big name or anything. But what I do know is I now know recovery. You know what I mean? I don't know. I haven't completed it, like I said, but I know enough of recovery now. And like I say, the best thing now is that I'm able to pass it on.
don't undersell yourself. You're a great man, and that's been one of the greatest conversations
Oh,
we've had.
Goosebumps.
Genuine
My
goosebumps.
hair's gone up.
The work that I don't think we mentioned at the start, the work you're doing now with Sporting Chance, helping other people within the game and without that, I can tell is life changing. I think some of the things you've said in this episode is life changing, and I think this is gonna. I hope this can go far and wide because I know that road, and I still had goosebumps, and it was immense. And I think Craig and I.
It's the information, and it's for people who are at the beginning of that journey that you've been on. It's having tangible advice, listening to someone who's been through it, understand it. Like just these are the things, the conversations we want to have.
Yeah.
And it's so important. You've lived experience, and it's giving that to someone else. They can listen to this, and they can understand it, and then hopefully they can reach out, and that's what we want. We want these hard hitting
And I
conversations.
think for those people that do watch this, they might think their rock bottom is the worst rock bottom that ever is, and I guarantee it's fucking not. I've heard some terrible rock bottoms, like and how people find the strength and courage to come back from it. Like is amazing. But people, when you're in the thick of it, you think that yours is the worst. Like it's the worst thing in the world, and in reality, it's not.
Mm.
Not. And like you say, you have to want recovery for yourself. If you do recovery for someone else, if you do recovery for your wife, you lose your wife, you've got nothing.
Mm.
You've got nothing to fall back on. If you do recovery for yourself, no matter what anything else happens, you lose your job, you lose your wife, you whatever else, you've still got recovery to fall back on. And like I say, that's why I can't put anything else before it because I'll lose it. But I know if I've always got recovery, I've got a chance of keeping everything else.
Let me ask you this then. This series, and I think I know the answer, but I want to hear you say it anyway. This series, we are a lot of our guests are going to be involved in sport or certain industries, and we're going to say to them kind of outside of what you're known for, football, and perhaps if you're a parent, that what one personal thing are you really proud of? What do you think is your greatest achievement personally for you?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we can't say my little boy on my wedding, but just have to get that in there just in case he watches. But no, it is. I have literally when I sit back and think about this now and again, the meeting that I do and the conversations that I've had, I've literally saved people's lives, and that's because this is where this disease will take you. It's that serious. It will kill you if you do not get on top. And I've had people die in recovery, and it's fucking awful because they were nearly there. They'd started the right conversations. They just couldn't quite get it. And you know what I mean? And it's such a waste. It's such a waste because there is something out there for people. And that is my greatest achievement. There's people that have come in, like I said earlier in the pod, that they've come in, they're broke, they think they're at rock bottom, they've got nothing else. And I've watched them grow and they now live a life, they've now got families, they're now helping others. Like the cycle goes on. You know what I mean? I've watched them come under me and like listen to what things that myself and the charity and other people are saying, and now they're passing it on to other people. And the longer that list keeps going, the more people get help. I know there's people in non-league that are fucking struggling, whether it be with gambling, drink, drugs. I know there is. I see it like, all the time, and I know there's people far too frightened to say a word. But there is a program. There is something out there that will save you, and it will take you away. And it's not fucking easy. It's not easy. It's called a simple program for complicated people, but it it's not easy. You have to work it every day, and if you're willing to do that one day at a time, you can have a life that's worth living. So that's my greatest achievement is just helping people in their lives be able to live their life. Yeah, that's that.
That's beautiful.
That's so
That's what
I'm going to say nothing else. Mason Spence, thank you
Thank you
so
so much, man.
Thank you very much, boys. Enjoyed it.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
sweating.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a little bit of a round of applause.
That was amazing.
Just gonna edit that bit out.
I've never done a round of applause.